Oi oi, it's your boy Hawker back with another video, and in case you missed it, Astralis recently played their first games with Bubzkji and Execs in the lineup, so I figured I'd have a look at what they've been doing, I'd have a look at how they're performing so far with those two new players, and just generally see what's changed for them. And I think it's fair to expect some pretty big changes from Astralis, considering their former in-game leader Glaive is taking some time out, Magisk is taking over that role. There are also questions as to how much time they've had to practice and what the team cohesion will be like, so lots of factors to consider as we jump on it. The pistol round's been playing on your screen, where Astralis got themselves into a 4v3 thanks to the early secret play. And then Astralis pumped the brakes and play for information, and after spotting Golden towards ramp, they realized they're probably better off going back up to the A site, and this ends up being a really good call. There's only one CT here, they get an easy kill, and at this point, the round is basically done. So a nice read from Magisk in this pistol. Oh, and it also helps that Dupree gets a nice little 2k at the end, just to make sure. We do get to see some weaknesses fairly early on though. For example, here in round number 3, Astralis are against largely a low buy from the Fnatic side, and they end up taking a bunch of 1v1 fights. Magisk goes down secret alone, which feels unnecessary knowing you're against a low buy. Then Device also gets caught out by Flush's position, and these are just silly mistakes giving away 1v1 fights that don't really need to happen. Thankfully though, the new boys on the block, Execs and Bubzkji, are able to close this round out with some nice aim, and this is something you're going to see more of. Astralis are relying much more on these individual plays now with this roster. Still a bit of a scary round though, and I think this is a clear indication that Astralis' team play may take some time to fully come through. Into the first gun round, Astralis focus on Yard, where Device is able to get a pick, but Bubzkji loses lobby control, so Astralis make a quick decision to hit the B site. Overall, they do a good job at using their nades effectively, using the one smoke and the mollies and flashes to eventually make sure they can get the bomb down. And the post plant looks pretty good to begin with, but unfortunately Device, who's watching the flank, doesn't quite catch Brolan coming down the vents, and once Brolan gets this flank going, this kill makes all the difference and makes it much more difficult for Astralis to win. Still, even though Astralis didn't win this round, I think they did a pretty good job overall. At the start of this next round, Execs goes for a fast drop towards main, which looks a bit weird at first because no one follows him up. But if you look from his teammates' perspectives, they clearly were trying to go for a fast A play, but just got countered by some good utility from Fnatic. Thankfully, Dupree's still able to get a kill and bring it into a 4v4. And something I was impressed by on Nuke was Astralis' ability to make decisive calls. They quickly move into ramp, they get this kill onto Flusher. Unfortunately, this is where it kind of falls apart though. They start to wrap in through hell into heaven, and even though they do a good job at getting into heaven in the first place, if you look at the minimap, I really think Device needs to start moving towards main sooner than this, because the 3 heaven players are all just coming in from this same angle, and then the actual flashbang they throw to try and push from heaven just isn't good enough. You need a flash that lands a little bit more shallow than this, because you see from Brolan's POV, it's way too easy to turn away, mow them down, and then Device arrives way too late to the party. So just a few small mistakes here in my opinion. I gotta say though, from here on in, it gets good for Astralis. For example, at the start of this round, they do a nice job at dealing with Golden's attempted aggression. They spot him early and they use some nades to flush him out. And then after some trades go down towards Yard, Execs able to get this flank going through heaven in the midst of all the chaos. He gets an important kill onto the A site, and this is something Astralis was so good at. Once it got to these 3v3s, they were really effective at finding all these important kills to open up these situations and ultimately win this round. I could talk about Magisk's simple calling style looking effective and most importantly decisive, or I could talk about Astralis' team play and timings looking good in most of these rounds. But I think the most important takeaway was just how much the individual plays and how much individual freedom Astralis had in these games. I mean, just look at round 11 playing in the background, where Astralis keep a pretty simple buddy system and just look sharp individually. Or how about round 9, where Astralis are on an eco, and Bubzkji's given the freedom to sneak down the vents off the back of this smoke, make sure he doesn't make any noise, wait for Crims to rotate down and grab himself this AK, and then after this, again he has the freedom to make another individual play, going for more fights, cracking this round open for his team, and this is just the stuff you normally aren't used to seeing that often from Astralis, at least not to this extent. Astralis even go on to win this round with a couple of D kills that Auto Director somehow managed to miss. Shout out to you, Auto Director, you still suck. Or how about round 12, which is albeit against an eco, but another example of Astralis' aim looking really good, and in my opinion being the main reason they won this round so easily. Or how about round 13, which starts with this brilliant shot from Bubzkji to bring it into a 4v4, and then as we fast forward, Astralis go for a contact A play, and yeah, the trades are decent, the timings are pretty good here, but this style of play is something we're not that used to seeing from Astralis. And you're even going to get to see, as we get to the end of the round here, it turns into a 1v1 where Dupree is able to outposition Flusher, outbrain him, and win the round. And there were so many rounds like this, where a lot of the early round was decided by Astralis' aim, and then it got turned into these close situations, which Astralis are really good at closing out. They've got experienced players, they've got a bit more skill in there now. It's a good combo for this looser, more individually focused style of play. Also, quick side note, I don't know if Flusher's a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle in disguise or something, because I feel like he should have a shell on his back to survive from this bomb blast. I'm not the only one that thinks that's pretty crazy, right? Like, I know the bomb blast on Nuke is smaller, but come on. I think this round best sums up what I'm talking about here. Bubzkji plays this off angle to begin with, gets his team the man advantage. You see quite a few of these outpositionings from Astralis throughout the game. And then it devolves into some somewhat scrappy trades towards Yard, which look like they could be going either way, and then Astralis pop up with the big play that wins them the round. This time Dupree is in a really good position to just get 2 massively important kills, and this is a lot more of what we saw from Astralis. And again, just looking at it from the eye test, this round comes more down to individuals than any crazy utility timings or trade timings. It's more just down to the individual fights, which I think suits this new Astralis lineup pretty nicely, especially if they haven't had too much practice. Switching over to the CT side, and spoiler alert, there's not much to talk about here because they win really quickly. But the pistol round is another nice read, I suppose you could call it. They stack the right sight, they land a bunch of shots. There's not much to be said about this one. Something that is worth talking about though is Astralis' CT side spots. Device is obviously playing Yard, and he gets a pick at the start of this round. But if you followed me on Twitter, which you should by the way, link down below, you would have seen that I was surprised that Bubzkji was playing Ramp Room. Back on Mad Lions, he used to always play pretty aggressively around Squeaky, and he's probably the least experienced player on this team. So in my opinion, having him at Ramp isn't necessarily the best fit. In general, what I look for from a ramp player is someone who's really reliable and will just call for rotations and survive, and I don't know if Bubzkji's that kind of player. Then again, he does a solid job in this round, having some assistance from Execs and eventually cleaning up these 2 kills. To clarify, I think Bubzkji's a really good player, specifically in his mechanics and his ability to play aggressively, but in my opinion, ramp isn't the kind of spot where you can accomplish that, and you're going to see here in round 20, Bubzkji kind of reloads in the open for no real reason, and then spots Flusher so has to drop really safe back towards B. And this is basically the last thing I want from my ramp room player. I want my ramp player to be someone who's always very reliable, very consistent, and doesn't give up ramp unless he really needs to, but knows when to give up ramp. And in this round, that small mistake forces Bubzkji to back away, and he allows Flusher to go flanking through hell, and I don't know if the communication gets mixed up here or what the hell happens, but Flusher ends up getting a free kill from it, and it really opens up the round for Fnatic and gives them a chance to begin with. To Bubzkji's credit, he does end up helping Astralis win this round on the A retake, but just the awkward timing on the reload and then the decision to play so safe towards B kind of concern me, and it's definitely something I'll be watching out for in the future. Maybe this is just an example of Bubzkji needing some time to adapt to this role, but it doesn't really feel like a natural fit to me, let's put it that way. And to close out the games, despite emphasizing Astralis' individuals, somehow we haven't talked about Device yet, who stats-wise is the best player on Astralis. And in this last round, the dynamic Dane device denies and disintegrates delicately due to a delicious double. Wow, I did that first time, hell yeah. Oh, by the way, in case anyone thought I was lying about Bubzkji's aggression, I'm going to go ahead and put some of his plays on Train CT side in the background, where he pushed Pop Dog in a bunch of the rounds. And again, all I'm saying is, I don't think you're going to be doing this in Ramp Room, at least not anywhere near as often as he did on Train, where he dominated. So overall, final thoughts on this new Look Astralis. I'm really glad that they have adapted to the players they have, and they haven't just tried to stick with the old Astralis system. They've brought a couple of new players in. They've got an even more star-studded roster now. I honestly think that Bubzkji might even be the best aimer on this team. If not, he's clearly one of the best. He looks really, really threatening. And at least for now, I think this is the most effective way for Astralis to play. They're not relying on anything too intricate, anything too complex. It's going to take time for these players to gel together anyway, so I like the more basic and more loose style of calling, especially for Magisk, who is still new to the IGL role. I think calling these more simple strats will be much easier for him, and he already seems to have a good grasp on the team and have a good decisive leadership style of calling, if that makes any sense. So yeah, positive signs for Astralis going forward, but we're going to have to see how they do in the long run. Remember, this was just a first look at the new Look Astralis. That's going to be me done for this video, but I'm going to keep on the content grind, so make sure to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you next time.